Hello, and welcome to another episode of Collections Unboxing. As always, I am your host, Emma Daly, Director of Collections and Exhibitions here at the Seward House Museum. Now, you don't have to be a fashionista to know that clothing trends come and go. From wide-leg, high-rise jeans to low-rise skinny jeans and back again, it can be hard to keep track of it all. This is hardly a problem unique to the 21st century. Fashion has gone from one extreme to another throughout human history. We can see the evolution even here in our own collection thanks to the clothing worn by the Seward family that they left behind. Today we're going to look at two dresses, both of which belong to Frances Seward, wife of William H. Seward. We see a dramatic shift in fashion happen in the late 18th century. Think of the extravagant Rococo style of Marie Antoinette, the voluminous dresses with every conceivable bell and whistle, the towering powdered wigs, and the exaggerated female silhouette. Then picture the simple, often muted dresses that your favorite Jane Austen heroine might wear. The latter style comes from what we call the Regency era. The Regency era itself refers to the period of time in England between 1811 and 1820, when the future King George IV acted as Prince Regent for his ill father, King George III. Women's clothing from this era is known for the empire waistline that starts right at the top of the torso, with skirts falling loosely below, light fabrics such as cotton muslin, and natural silhouettes. We often mistakenly think that Regency women did not wear corsets. In fact, they did have stays, as they're also called, but there was less boning and structure. The stays weren't meant to suck you in, but rather give a boost to certain aspects of the female anatomy. The reason clothing went from extravagance to simplicity was, believe it or not, a result of the French Revolution. The indulgences of the French nobles, many of them now headless, was rejected, and a desire to return to simpler times emerged. Inspired by the white robes of the ancient Greeks and Romans, women's dresses were now light and flowy, in stark contrast to the heavy, structured garments from before the Revolution. Here we have the first two dresses that I pulled from collections. This one dates back to 1825, so we're talking the very tail end of the Regency era. Frances would have been 20 years old and had just married William H. Seward the previous year. We can see how light and sheer the fabric is. Don't worry, there were layers underneath to preserve her modesty. The detail work is exquisite and yet not too over the top. The waistline, as mentioned before, it starts right below the bust, and then the skirt floats away from the lower half of the body. Women's fashion takes another dramatic turn in the Victorian era, named after England's Queen Victoria, who reigned from 1837 to 1901. The Victorian era coincides with the Industrial Revolution, which, among a great many other things, saw a change in how clothing was made. The invention of the sewing machine and mechanical textile weaving introduced ready-made clothing to society. Along with a greater variety of materials available, thanks to improved transportation, and an increase in leisure time for both the upper and middle classes, women's fashion became elaborate once more. While early Victorian fashion was not quite as over the top as Rococo styles, the silhouette became more exaggerated again. The hourglass shape was the ideal, accomplished with a combination of boned corsets and skirts made wide by hoops, crinoline, or petticoats. Here is the second dress from Frances Seward, dating back to the 1850s. The waist of the dress is lower here than on the 1825 dress. The fabric is heavier and darker, and the skirt is fuller, intended to be worn with a hoop or crinoline, of course. Frances was never a flashy woman to begin with, and she was middle-aged by this point, so her dress is more on the matronly side rather than the extravagant ball gowns you might see in a period drama. But of course, this dress was also for day wear, not for evening. The interesting thing about this dress is that we actually have a photograph of Frances wearing it. This photo was then the inspiration for this engraving of Frances found in the Diplomatic Gallery, which in turn, inspired the statue of Frances commissioned after her death in 1865. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Collections Unboxing. And if you'd like to see the 1825 dress in person, it'll be on loan to the Cayuga Museum of History and Art in their fall exhibit entitled 1825 Realizing America, which will be open from September 20th through the end of the year.